I have a theory about Mozart's death, or a theory about our relationship with Mozart's death. It seems to me that the reason we are so concerned to account for the child prodigy and the way he was treated, to promote the story of a genius who was neglected, who was rejected by a fickle public, who didn't get what he was due. I think that a lot of the impetus for the kinds of research that we do about Mozart actually is an attempt in a way to expiate our guilt, as if we continue to feel guilty for Mozart's seemingly unfair, unjustified, and tragic early demise. But there's another aspect to it too. Mozart is usually presented as a tragic figure. We always read about Mozart's tragic premature death, or the tragedy of Mozart's life. But in terms of literature and narrative, Mozart's story is not a tragedy. A tragedy is a story about someone with a fatal flaw, and that fatal flaw leads to their downfall and their death. That's why Lear, for example, is a tragedy. Mozart's life, or Mozart's death in the Mozart story, is actually really a melodrama, because melodrama is about lives that are cut off in the middle of full flow, lives that are cut short through no fault of the person, him or herself. Maybe that casts Mozart in a slightly different light, or maybe not. It doesn't really make a difference, I suppose, in the long run, whether we think of it as a melodrama or a tragedy. It doesn't change the story, and it doesn't change the feeling that one gets here, standing here. Even though I know Mozart's not buried here, you cannot help but be moved, and you cannot help but feel that it was a life, as it was cut short. In some sense, this pillar here is a metaphor for that. It's half finished. The Josef Lange portrait that we saw in the Mozarteum at the portraiture exhibition, we like it to be unfinished because Mozart's life was unfinished. And it's our need, I think, to finish that life, to explain that life, to make good what we perceive Mozart's unsatisfactory life, that in no small part gives rise to so much of our interest in and research about and concern for Mozart and his music.